G'day guys, my name is Caleb, otherwise known as the Critic Kebab, and welcome back to another episode of my FC24 Chelsea career mode. I feel as a fan base we're all in a very depressed state. We are currently in a very precarious situation. Mauricio Pochettino is doing himself no favours because he is constantly sending the players out and we are getting dog shit performances. Against Wolves, losing 2-4 at home to Gary O'Neill's men, him getting the double over Chelsea this season is just simply unacceptable. And as you guys can quickly see in the background, Armando Broja is gone out on loan and he is leaving us in the career mode just like he did in real life. And that to me is very concerning because Chelsea's biggest problem this season is we have been unable to score goals. We haven't created enough opportunities and we have not had someone to convert the opportunities. And Broja, the fact that he's gone out on loan in January suggests to me that Pochettino does not have faith in him, which is severely concerning for the long term. And I would not be surprised if Broja is a player that ends up getting sold for straight profit by the owners because, you know, I thought he was going to be a player for the future and definitely a good squad player. But the fact that he's leaving in January when we don't have others, you know, when Jackson was out during AFCON and Kunku's injured, and very concerning. There's lots of question marks happening behind the scenes. Obviously, Cassidy has been recalled from his loan spell at Leicester, and he will be joining us in the career mode as well. But as you can see, Mauricio Pochettino, he's the one that's getting all the headlines because Wolves was a game that we had to win. We had to bounce back from that terrible performance at Anfield, and we just failed to do so. And the Stamford Bridge crowd erupted. A volcanic explosion took place inside that stadium. And I heard so many chants from the broadcast. You know, you hear chants of Roman Abramovich, Jose Mourinho, but the most notable one was that the Chelsea fans could be heard singing, "We're fucking shit, we're fucking shit, we're fucking shit." I could not agree more. And at the end of the day, you could look at all the behind the scenes issues with the owners and all the mishaps they've made in the transfer dealings that they've done with players that they've signed and the money they've spent. As far as I'm concerned, that is not the primary issue because a lot of the players that we've bought, yes, we've invested in youth, but the players we've got are quality individuals. So now the responsibility falls on Mauricio Pochettino, and it's his job as head coach to improve these players, to get the tactics right, and get us performing as a team. And so far this season, I've only seen maybe 2 games that I've been like wowed by and severely impressed. I thought the first game of the season against Liverpool was extremely optimistic, especially coming off a good pre-season. And the Man City game where we drew 4-4, going toe-to-toe with the champions. I was so impressed with that display as well. And yet, everything else I feel like has been 1 step forward, 2 steps back. And Pochettino has never been able to, you know, galvanize this fan base. And there's been so much skepticism, me included. And I just think it's wholly unacceptable to be in this state of form and not getting results because we should be doing so much better. My biggest concern now is the behind the scenes disruption between the players and staff. Because historically, when Chelsea have got into a situation like this, it's the manager that gets kicked out the door. And do the players know that? Like, Graham Potter got sacked under very similar circumstances, and we're basically in the same spot we were last season. Yes, we've got basically a new squad, but I don't know, Mauricio Pochettino, he did confirm in his pre-match press conference that he did get a positive text from the ownership, and he talks with the sporting directors on a daily basis, and you know, he's got their trust and they're all in it together. And I think that's important, especially coming off a result like the Wolves game. I think it's important that he knows where he stands. He needs a decisive answer. Yes, no, you're in the job. We still back you for this period of time. But I think it reflects where we are as a club, that we are accepting mediocrity and we are not gonna, accept, or we are accepting in the short term, severely disappointing and underwhelming performances and results in the hope that in the long term we're gonna succeed. And the long term is not guaranteed. Football is a fickle business, and it's about not what you've done for me in the past, not what you could do for me in the future, but it's about what you're doing right bloody now. And Pochettino has not done anything in recent memory to garner any sort of trust from the fan base, losing 1-0 away from home against Middlesbrough, losing at Anfield in absolutely embarrassing fashion. Early results that we had in the beginning of the seasons, like West Ham and Nottingham Forest. There has been so many times where we just haven't exactly put up anything that has, as a fan base, given us the collective spirit being like, yes, this is the man to guide us into the long-term future. And at the end of the day, he's the one that picks the formation, he's the one that picks the players, and it hasn't been working. And yes, you could blame the injury crisis, I get that. And Kunku is still yet to return and get match fitness and sharpness. But with the 4 at the back system with Thiago Silva, I just don't think it's the way to go. So I am very much so expecting a formation change, a tactics setup change. It has to happen because it's not working in this current moment. And if Chukwuemeka's fit and ready to go, he needs to be starting ahead of Conor Gallagher. Because as far as I'm concerned, when that man's in the team, he is not offering anything for us in an attacking sense. Because we need to score goals. Goals win games. And Jackson is simply not good enough. And Kunku, I'm not going to blame him. He's been injured, And Mudryk and Sterling and Madueke, none of them are firing. And as far as I'm concerned, Sterling can get booted out the door come next transfer window. But things need to change. And I'm expecting Pochettino to be the one to turn that crank, get the dial turning, and make things work, because it's his responsibility, in my opinion. The owners have given us this squad. They've done all the behind the scenes clear out, which you can cast certain blame on. But these players are better than what they've been performing at so far. Another thing that we probably would have all seen on social media, which is very concerning, is the fact that Thiago Silva's wife tweeted out basically calling for the manager's head, saying if we don't change things now, it'll be too late. I don't know what the intention is behind that, but if she's tweeting that, you can tell that there's some sort of disconnect between the Silva family and Mauricio Pochettino, because why would she feel confident tweeting something like that if her husband didn't also think the same way? And the fact that Thiago Silva, who's one of our more experienced players, is tweeting something like that is very concerning to me, because he's the one that's supposed to be, guiding this young team and looking after them and showing them the way. And as we lose the ball there, Wesley Fofana cleaning up at the back for us, thankfully. But in the training session that the Pochettino conducted this morning, he said to the players that you have my trust now more than ever. And he's going to step up and be the leader that these young players need. And yes, there's lots of immaturity. And yes, when the fans get angry and nervous, that feeds onto the players and then they make more mistakes and it's a domino effect. And there's nothing we as fans can do about that, because I don't expect anyone to continue to applaud and, get happy with mediocrity. Absolutely not. So at the end of the day, it's the players that have to perform in order to get the fans on side. And when the performances are terrible, the players need to know. And Enzo Fernandez and Moises Caicedo can delete their social media and whatever, but they will not be able to escape Stamford Bridge and the crowd, because they are so important. And as of right now, as Madueke gets in, this should be an easy goal. Oh my God, he can't even finish on his right foot. That is extremely embarrassing for Noni there. But again, when you come to a club like Chelsea, who historically in the Roman Abramovich era has always been performing, and when it hasn't gone well, the manager's been sacked. You need to be able to step up and conduct a dressing room in a productive way. That's something that Frank Lampard, John Terry, John Obi Mikel have talked about, that even when managers were, cycling through the door, on a constant conveyor belt, that the dressing room, the spine of the team, Petr Cech, John Terry, Frank Lampard, Didier Drogba, and all the other players around them, they had the trust in themselves, the confidence to still stay together as teammates and play well and put out performances that, got results. And we saw that historically in so many occasions. And as of right now, I don't think the dressing room is strong enough. And when you have Ben Chilwell coming out after the Wolves game and saying in his post-match interview that, the players weren't at it and that, they didn't win the 50-50 battles because they didn't want it as much as the Wolves players did. That's wholly embarrassing to say that as the vice captain. And yes, I expect honesty from, these interviews. I'm sick of players being robots. But at the same time, don't confess your mental weaknesses. Confess your what we visually see as fans, that you just didn't perform at the level that was expected. To confirm that you didn't, you weren't 100% committed on the field in that game is just wholly unacceptable and extremely concerning. And I've been one of those fans that has, said that, yes, it's a long-term strategy. We need to invest in the future and we can't get players and managers, out the door when things don't quite go our way. We need to trust in the process. And as a fan that has said these things, I look silly in moments like these. I gave Graham Potter way too much time, and he got out the door at an appropriate time, I think. And Mauricio Pochettino is getting extremely close to the sack, I think. If he doesn't win the cup final against Liverpool and he doesn't get top 6 football, I am seriously in the position of saying he should get sacked, because it's just wholly unacceptable. With one game of football basically a week, no European football to contend with, which means he's got more time than most other teams in the Premier League, especially the teams that we've been losing to, like Wolves and fucking Nottingham Forest and Brentford. We've had more time on the training pitch to implement Pochettino's style of football. And we've had enough players that are good enough, like, Enzo Fernandez, like Caicedo, like Mudryk, like Cole Palmer, all our good players that are definitely starting 11 material and have been for most of the season. They are all good enough and should be doing it. Ooh, Cucurella not able to get the equaliser for us there. So as far as I'm concerned, it's all down to Pochettino. He has not got the best out of the players that we have at our disposal, and it's just simply not good enough. Good pass in there to Enzo. And Nkunku. Back into Enzo. Oh, and Noni is not able to get the shot off, unfortunately. And there goes the halftime whistle. And similar to real life, yet again in this career mode, the scoreline reflects a negative result. And we are losing at home. And the boos ring out, rightfully so. I honestly am in the position where I think Pochettino, he needs to go to a 3 at the back system, get Cucurella in that left wing back position and get Gusto doing the same, running down that right flank constantly throughout the game. Because Thiago Silva, playing him in a back 4, I never thought was a good idea. Even when we had Tuchel and when we had Lampard, he's not as fast and agile as what he once was. So he needs the support and the protection around him by players who are more agile and flexible and pacey, like your Levi Colwill and your Axel Disasi. I think they would be perfect either side of him. And Colwill as a left back just clearly hasn't worked out in the way that we should how it should have. And now that we've got Chilwell back, we need to get him sharp, because as far as I'm concerned, as the vice captain, he needs to be doing better. Cucurella's in here. Ooh, and it goes out for a corner. So we need to transition to a new formation, give Caicedo and Fernandez more support in the pivot positions that they are playing, and Nkunku needs to be able to create more for us, whether it's shooting opportunities or actual creative link-up play, whether that's with Jackson in a striking 2 partnership or whether we have Nkunku sort of up top, and then we have Mudryk and Palmer as support players. I really don't know. That's not my job to figure out, because I'm not the one who's privy to the behind the scenes training and attitude and all that kind of stuff. But from what I've seen with my eyes, Sterling, I don't want to see him in a Chelsea shirt again. He's performed amazingly for us in some games, but he's so inconsistent. And Madueke, surely now, there's the equaliser, good bloody stuff. But as far as I'm concerned, as one of the more experienced players in the dressing room, he has not stepped up and shown any leadership and played by example, if you know what I mean. And as a result, I think Sterling needs to be dropped, and we need to give Mudryk a run of games, because he's the one for the future. Sterling is definitely bloody not. And Noni, as someone who has definitely behind the scenes been annoyed by his lack of minutes, when he does get the minutes, he's not exactly pulled up any trees, has he? Yes, he scored a few goals and played okay against weaker opposition, but he needs to be doing better. And Madueke should get another one here. He has two in quick succession. He's making up for his mistake in the first half by missing an absolute sitter. And just like that, bang, bang, he goes dual-wheeled, fires both bullets, and gets us back into a position that is advantageous. 2-1 at Stamford Bridge. How bloody good. So, I think we can, as a fan base, call out individuals in the media, on the social media, all that stuff. But I've seen it too many times. A manager gets sacked, someone else comes in, and the same exact group of players perform completely differently. You look how Frank Lampard in his first tenure was playing in his second season. Thomas Tuchel comes in with the exact same players and wins the bloody Champions League. It can be done. You look at on so many other occasions, Gary O'Neill comes into Wolves, and lots of people were predicting Wolves that might go down this season, and Gary O'Neill has worked absolute wonders. Antonio Conte, a great elite manager who's won lots of trophies, comes into Tottenham, can't get a tune out of those guys. Ange Postecoglou comes in with no Harry Kane and is somehow top 5. It makes no sense. And yet the manager is the one that imbues the culture, puts the trust in the players, and gets the results. And Ange has done that. And Gary O'Neill has done that. And Roy Hodgson has, got himself into a sticky patch of recently, but when he came into Crystal Palace replacing Patrick Vieira, he was able to steady the ship and make them survive another potential relegation battle. And we are going to be versing Crystal Palace in the Premier League next, and that is a must-win game. It's looking like Elise and Eze, who are their two best players, creating the most for them, might be injured, they might not be playing. So if that's the case, Crystal Palace then have no excuse. There's no way that they can possibly win, as far as I'm concerned. So Chelsea, away from home, need to be going to Selhurst Park and winning that, 100%. There's no excuse for a draw. There's no excuse for not winning that game in a comfortable fashion, especially if their two best players are not playing. And the FA Cup, I don't expect us to win that game. I genuinely think Aston Villa are a better outfit and better coached by Unai Emery. But if we are able to somehow survive in the cup, credit where credit is due. But we need to be getting top 6 football, and we need to be winning the EFL Cup final. It's as simple as that. We need to get a form of European football, and if we don't, that's a cataclysmic failure. Not just in terms of footballing achievement, but in terms of financially. We will get screwed by FFP if we are not able to get the revenue coming into the game. And if we are playing those extra games in Europe, the pace and acceleration didn't quite get there after the skill move there by Mudryk. And Cucurella's not able to get the pass in behind. And his pace is not good enough to get in behind as well and beat the man. The last thing that I want to say, because lots could be said, but Pochettino in his... Madueke for a hat-trick here. Wow. Well done, buddy. He said in his post-match press conference that, he expects time to build the team. And I really do want to believe him, but he can't be entitled to time at this football club. If you don't deliver in the now, if you don't pick up results in the meantime whilst you are, getting these players better, like, you simply just can't stay in a job. It's as simple as that. And the fact that these players are on such long-term contracts, I think will breed a sense of complacency. And I think if Pochettino is constantly getting the thumbs up from the owners saying, yes, we're going to keep giving you opportunities to improve and get better, and you're still staying in the job, like, to me, that's extremely concerning, because the threat of being sacked should always be looming over a manager's head. And you shouldn't be rewarded for mediocrity, especially at Chelsea, who is not a mid-table team. The fact that we're 11th at the moment and we're a scroll-down club, we're on the second page, for God's sake, like, that is wholly embarrassing. And other fan bases, rightfully so, should be, calling us out and saying how shit we are and making fun of us and taking the piss. And Kunku should get us another one, 5-1 at Stamford Bridge. This is the type of bloody result that I wanted to see in real life, getting a response against an underwhelming result at Liverpool. But I want to hear from you guys now. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. What do you guys think about Mauricio Pochettino? Are you still on the fence, or are you wholesale get him out the door, Poch out? That's what I want to know. But in the career mode here, we have actually bounced back and got a positive result. The first in a while, I feel like. Noni Madueke gets a hat-trick, stepping up when times are toughest, and we get a 5-1 result here at home. The next few games are going to be extremely decisive for this point in history for the Chelsea Football Club. Can we turn things around? Can we bounce back? Or are we about to hit a new rock bottom and things are going to go from bad to worse? And are we just going to quickly fall into consistent mediocrity and have one of the biggest falls from grace in European soccer history? Thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next video. Come on, you Blues.